Hi, I'm David Camerlin Smith, professor of history at Eastern Illinois University, and this is just a little bit about me. The teacher who had the greatest effect on me was Professor Lynn Hunt. She really serves as a model that I have tried to emulate in order to understand how to be an effective teacher. Professor Hunt was demanding. She expected us to do our best and expected us to match and achieve and even surpass her expectations of what we should be able to accomplish in a course. Yet at the same time, she was also very compassionate. She understood when we were going through difficult material, and it could take a while for students to fully catch on to the material, or even when we were going through difficult times outside of the classroom. She was a compassionate person who at the same time could demand from us our best work. And she integrated laughter into her classrooms. She's a quite funny human being. And that really taught me something about how laughter helps create a positive learning environment, even when talking about difficult and challenging and depressing material. That laughter can serve a way to help create a very positive space in which to engage those issues. I don't have a favorite course to teach. Instead, I have favorite moments in several different courses. One of my favorite courses is in a course I teach on slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. And in the middle part of that course, we spend several weeks looking at the experience of enslaved people from the perspective of the enslaved people, trying to understand how these individuals in an environment that is filled with violence and coercion, threats, how at the same time these people tried to craft lives for themselves, lives that would help them to endure the violence and the coercion that they faced, lives that would help them even to have moments, perhaps very fleeting moments, of joy, of love, of happiness. And I find it a powerful story to look at how these individuals are seeking to endure and survive, and sometimes even to thrive within a world and within a society that so deeply oppressed them. It's a powerful story, and I always enjoy engaging in the discussions over how that happened. A second course that has a moment I really love teaching is a course on the French Revolution. And once the revolution is launched and fully underway, the revolutionaries have a period of time where they can really start to imagine a different society and begin to implement laws and policies to promote and encourage that different society, to try to figure out who should get included within the nation, within those people who hold full civil rights. Should Protestants be allowed full civil rights? Should Jews? Should women? Should enslaved people? And looking at those debates and how the people of the era of the French Revolution are trying to understand how their society can be different, and then putting that difference into reality, into life, I find a really exciting topic to talk about. And then a third course that has a moment I really love is a course I teach on 16th and 17th century France when we take a field trip. We go down to a number of historic sites, French colonial sites that are in southern Illinois and southern Missouri. And we spend time walking in the houses, looking at the fields, getting a sense of the lived experience that people had in these places in generally the late 17th and 18th centuries. And it's a really fun time with students to get out of the classroom and to talk about how that lived experience comes to life in the physical space. The most challenging part of teaching has been understanding that students change over time. I've been teaching long enough that the students that I teach today are different than the students that I taught 10 years ago or 20 years ago or more. That they've had different experiences, whether it be the emergence of something like social media, whether it be political events that have a real effect on them, that students change and their needs change. And that also means I need to change how I bring material to them, how I present it, or what types of themes that I draw out of the material, so that the material will best both connect with them and that they'll best be able to master the material. And part of that is recognizing that I change too over time. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And my relationships with students have changed over that time as the age gap between us has grown. My jokes drawn upon culture from the 1980s are not going to resonate. And so understanding how I need to change as a teacher in response to how I am changing and how the students are changing has, I think, been the greatest challenge and in many ways, the greatest excitement. I have a number of hobbies and activities that I participate in, but I'm going to mention three because they happen to be on my mind at this point. One of them, and perhaps the most important, is singing. I love to sing, and I sing in several choral groups. I really love the experience of connecting with people by singing with them. The work it takes to merge and blend our voices in order to make beautiful music. That it's not just about me, it's not just about them, it's about us working together. And I really enjoy that experience of singing in a choral setting and learning how to coordinate what I'm doing with what other people are doing so that the end product is something that we're both proud of. I also enjoy golfing, which is sort of the opposite of singing with a choral group. Golfing is a very isolating activity. I swing a golf club. That's something I do by myself. But I really enjoy that process of figuring out how to play golf better. I love going to a driving range. And in the driving range, I'll work for an hour on my swing. And there's something very satisfying, very calming in that for me. And then a last activity I'll mention is not one that I enjoy. In fact, I don't enjoy it. But it's one that I do because it means a lot to my wife. And you can see the results of it back behind me in this picture of our garden. My wife is a master gardener. And the garden you see behind us is her design and her work and her labor. But I do provide some bulk muscle when it's needed. And so it's sort of a hobby by marriage, but one that really my wife has produced a beautiful garden in our backyard. I have many items on a very large bucket list, but I'm going to mention three of them. One of them that I really want to be able to do at some point is to go hiking in New Zealand. I was supposed to go to a conference in New Zealand this past year, but the pandemic made that impossible. And I had all these plans in New Zealand to spend a lot of time hiking. I enjoy hiking a lot out in the wilds. And New Zealand is supposed to be just a beautiful place to go hiking in. So high on my bucket list is to get to New Zealand and get to do some of that hiking. Second item on my bucket list is quite different. And that is, I'd like the opportunity to work with children. I've spent most of my adult life working with individuals between the ages of about 18 and 25. And I really would like the chance to work with children, especially younger children, say between the ages of about 3 and 10. My children are now graduated from college, And so I'd like to have the chance once again to work with smaller humans and get to experience their joy and their excitement and their energy. And at the same time, try to offer them what I can in terms of guidance or information, or perhaps just be a safe person that they can talk to. And a third item on my bucket list is to, well, it's a little selfish, but I have been to 48 of the 50 states, and I want to get to the last two states. The only states I haven't been to are Alaska and Oregon. And Oregon is an odd one because I grew up in California. I just never made it far enough up the coast to get to Oregon. So those are three items on my bucket